I'm here in Kyiv in Ukraine. I guess you're wondering how I got here. It's probably best if I start from the beginning. Here we go. Well, this is it. First minutes in Kyiv. We've already had an air raid siren. I'm off to meet my mate there. As ever, trusty Macadee.
Okay, what else we're out?
I mean, I don't really know what I was expecting, but like within 5 minutes of seeing you here, it's like you haven't left. It made me chuckle that as she was showing me, the little ping down thing, the little warning came up, being like, "Take cover, missile attack in Kyiv." This is Lieutenant Kill.
Pow, pow, pow. Grab lunch somewhere on the way. After that, we'll then.
How long's this meeting going to be?
Hopefully, no more than half an hour. We'll grab it. There's a coffee. I've got this to take us to a coffee shop. So.
Okay, so
we'll grab a coffee.
Yeah.
We'll run in, say hi.
By this point, I was absolutely starving. It's been about a day since I've had any real food. So we kind of dipped into town, parked up the world's most inconspicuous vehicle and got some normal food. It really wasn't going how I expected. Warning. There's air raid sirens going off in Kyiv. Just looking to see if I can see any missiles go overhead, to be honest. It's going on longer than yesterday's one. Nothing as of yet. Anyway, yeah, we've got a gym in the basement here, so frankly, if it all goes wrong, died doing what they loved, working out, but in the basement, which is where you go anyway if everything starts going a bit close. The sky seems pretty clear though. Now, never one to shy away from a gym session. I went to the gym that I've just been talking about, the one in the basement, so it was really well kitted out, but notice on the right hand side of the video you can see some of the used launcher tubes for some anti-tank missiles. This wasn't really quite the decoration I was expecting, but it does bring it home just where you are and just what's been going on. Quite a surreal experience, to be honest, but something I won't forget. And I worked out every day while I was there, whether it was in the home gym here or if we just went for a run or anything else like that. Bear in mind, though, I had no phone signal and I didn't record any GPS data while I was there. Given my previous work in the military and then the corporate sector for defence, I didn't want anyone being able to track anything that I was doing while I was there. I then asked my mate the most important question of all, which was to go and have a look around Kyiv. So what you can see here is the pop-up memorial. Small flags and some large ones for all the nationalities that have been killed during this war. This was an invasion of Ukraine by its neighbour Russia. Despite all the rhetoric that goes on, this really brings home the human cost. This doesn't even come close to touching the number of people who have actually been killed or injured since the war began. But as you look around, you can see flags from all across the world. Brits, New Zealand, Australia, Canada, and obviously thousands of Ukrainian flags. This is a seriously poignant moment, and I just had to stop and think about it. If you know your history, you'll know that the revolution began when the Russians tried to interfere in the previous election. So it was really surreal to be standing here, walking around dressed like a Cold War spy. So well done if you're still here, but I wanted to show you what normality looks like in a city that's getting bombed every day. Those air raid sirens that you heard at the beginning happened nearly every single morning. Sometimes it was really big strikes and sometimes it was really small strikes. They have refused to succumb to a blitz mentality and tried to continue living as normal a life as possible because they need to keep the economy going. Absolutely fascinating to see it because it was totally different to any other war zone I've been to, and I've been to a few. Mum's going to be so unhappy when I send her this video. It's much louder in the central town than it was in the house. You can see that I know this shit. Hopefully nothing blows up. As somebody who spent years in the military, who understands a large part of the history of this area and especially the Russian mindset towards invading Ukraine, it was just fascinating to be here. So I had to just take it all in, and if you look around you can see the old communist architecture mixed in with the much older bits as well. But this, I think, was the moment that really brought home where I was, and it's not the rocket attacks. You might remember from early on in the war, there was a video of a man walking along a bridge pretty early in the morning when a Russian missile hit just next to the bridge, and this is it. It was just down there, and the cameras were, I guess, up there, which showed, in fact, we can see the cameras right there, which showed the CCTV footage of when that happened. So it's quite incredible to be standing here now. You've got the most amazing view across the city that way. But yeah, let's hope there's no missile strikes now while we're on this bridge. So we've got all the burnt out vehicles here, examples of burnt out Russian vehicles that have been destroyed by the Ukrainian army. And it's really strange to be here now looking at some of these because when I was in the army, in the British Army and in the cavalry, we used to study these vehicles, looking at what they look like by day, by night, through thermal optics, to understand exactly what was what so you could identify them. And I've never been this close to any of these before because, well, I didn't serve fighting the Russians. But as you can see, these examples here now, it's incredible to be right alongside them all and seeing exactly what it was that we trained for so long to be able to identify. So next up, I thought what we'd do is go and have a look at one of the biggest monuments of all. And this is the Motherland statue. It's this huge statue that you've seen all over the media, and it is so impressive to see. You have to climb up a pretty big hill to get here. And then you arrive at what is also the National Memorial. So it incorporates a large part of the Ukrainian history, its Soviet history, it's wartime history, World War II, all of those sorts of things. It's absolutely phenomenal. Here in Kyiv in Ukraine, it's taken me 36 hours to get here. And as you can see, we've got the famous enormous flag behind us, which is currently at half mast. Not because the fact that there's a war on, but because the flag is so big that when the wind gets up like it is today, it can tear the flagpole apart. Whilst Tucker Carlson is interviewing Putin this morning, as we saw on the news, we faced a barrage of about 40 missiles that came in this morning at a cost of around $500 million to the Russian Federation. You might have seen, and you might be able to notice on the shield of this statue, that there is the Ukrainian trident. Well, this is actually quite a recent addition. It used to have the hammer and sickle of communism, but since the war, Ukraine has tried to remove all the vestiges of its communist past, which is why they've replaced it with the new national symbol of Ukraine. You'll appreciate that during my time in Ukraine, there's a lot that I couldn't show you. My friends are mercenaries, therefore they were fighting against the Russians on the front lines, and some of the stories that they told me were utterly horrific. Things that I would never wish on anybody to have to experience. But that's the reality of the war out there today. And it's as true now as it was then when I went there. I also visited drone factories. I met the people who are making money off the war. There's a wartime economy. There are people who are making legitimate money and people who are making money illegally. All of this is no different to the way that countries around the world work. But it was absolutely fascinating to see it from a first-hand perspective. I stayed in Ukraine for a couple of weeks, mostly because I went there to see my friend who has been fighting out there for a few years, and it was the first chance that I had to go and see him, given the time that it takes to get there, and of course the danger involved. Whilst I was working in my corporate defence job, I certainly wasn't allowed to go out there, even though there were times that we were dealing with war and its fallouts in terms of a business perspective. Unfortunately, insurance companies often won't let you take that kind of risk, and therefore if something had happened to me, I wouldn't have been able to have been paid out or repatriated. The time it takes to get to Ukraine alone is such a big factor, and you forget that because they can't fly anything in, it does mean that things are really expensive over there, which means life is really difficult for people. And whilst they try and keep things running normally, it certainly isn't a normal life. We got bombed almost every single morning. Whether it was that we were sitting at home trying to watch some TV, we were watching Masters of the Air when it came out. We would get the air raid sirens come off. Now, we are all people who have been to war zones, whether it was there in Ukraine or anywhere else. So we were used to this. That doesn't mean that it isn't utterly horrifying. The boys in the house, they keep weapons there. They no longer live in that house, which is why I'm allowed to show you this video. But they keep weapons in the basement, and most of the time they are armed when they walk around. They have special permits that allow them to do so, because most Ukrainians can't do that. It is still a very regulated society because the Ukrainian government does not want it just descending into lawlessness. There's a curfew from 11:30 p.m. to 5:30 a.m. every night, where the streets are completely empty, and unless you have a seriously good reason as well as a permit, you are not allowed to travel. You will be arrested. This is to try and ensure that there are not nefarious activities going on overnight. But I will leave you with this before you see my journey home. Imagine if you and your family were subjected to this. Out of nowhere, your neighbour invaded your country and started bombing your cities. Not only have they taken ground to the east of the country, which they're now refusing to give back, but worse than that, they're targeting civilian infrastructure, they're targeting power plants, they're targeting hospitals, and they're targeting schools. The barbarity in this war is savage. And with that in mind, next time you have an opinion on this war, which is totally within your right to do so, I want you to remember this video and think about it from the perspective of somebody who has been there, and then think about it from the perspective of those who live there. For 3 years they have been subjected to this, not knowing if each night or each day will be their last. So I am just getting ready to leave, and I thought my final moments here now. Very sad to be leaving. I think it was not what I expected. It's been a really, really incredible thing to come and see. Long journey back now to the UK. What an amazing place though. You almost wouldn't know that there's a war on until suddenly the sirens go off and everything starts blowing up. You get the constant alerts of stuff coming in across the country, which is quite unnerving, but it's been an amazing experience to be here, and somewhere I definitely want to come back. It's just a really, really long journey. So I've got this really long journey now, and yeah, hopefully not as hot as on the way out. Okay, it is 5:37. Just made it back to Chelm in Poland, so quite not as hot as it was on the train yesterday. But we had all of my bags were tipped out to look for weapons, so they went through everything. Every man on the train got searched. So they went through my suitcase, my hand luggage, emptied literally every single item out onto the floor, checking my pockets. They couldn't quite work out like why I was English and was coming back through, like the guys had never seen it before, which is kind of weird because actually there's a lot of Brits over there who take that route. Yeah, it's 5:30. I've now got to get a train up to a place called Lublin, which is where I can then get my flight home. So a little closer than last time, which is good. So I'll be back at home by about 15:30 UK time, I hope. So let's see. I've also just been to Beer Dronker, so I've got a bunch of these which are so sugary, and a bunch of like pastries, because I didn't really know what I was looking at. Pastries, safe bet anywhere, but I'm about to have a sugar overload for 5:30 in the morning. Mum's coming to pick me up, so let's see. I don't know if she's I try and record a reaction, I don't know. It's been a long trip. We are now definitely 36 hours out. Hi, how are you?
Great, how are you?
Yeah, tired. Very tired. Glad to be back though. It's a hell of an experience. And I didn't even do like a lot of the stuff that I wanted to. We just didn't have time. Now this was just the start of what was going to be an incredible year for me, traveling around the world to some really inhospitable places and to some nicer places as well. But thank you for watching these videos, and make sure you subscribe, follow along, because there is so much more content to come. Not just fitness, not just travel, but adventure, excitement, and escaping the ordinary. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you on the next one.